If you're thinking about working with a financial advisor, you may have some concerns about whether or not the advisor can steal your money. And that's understandable. There have been some high profile cases, including the Bernie Madoff event. And if you look at the local news and even some financial advisor industry publications, you occasionally see cases where an advisor bilked their clients out of their life savings. So that's what we're going to talk about here for the next couple of minutes. We'll go over when the risk is greatest or when it's easiest for somebody to steal funds from you. We'll go over ways to work with a financial advisor without taking those big risks. So if you just want to eliminate the risk and not hand your money over to an advisor, there are some of us that will work with you that way. We'll go over that, and we will cover some additional tips that can help improve the chances of you keeping your money safe as you work with somebody. Perhaps the biggest risk when working with an advisor is if that advisor has what's called custody, and this is a regulatory term that means the advisor actually takes possession of your funds. So in many cases when you're working with somebody, you're going to write checks to, let's say, Charles Schwab or Fidelity or Vanguard or whatever custodian it might be, and that organization holds your funds. But some advisors, such as in the Bernie Madoff scheme, will actually take possession of your money and invest it from their accounts. Now, that's not always a bad thing. There are some honest people who do this. But if you did happen to run across somebody who's dishonest, that practice makes it much easier for them to take funds. So when you're using an independent third-party custodian who's not your financial advisor, for example, let's say it's Charles Schwab or Fidelity, that company will print statements that you can reasonably rely on to probably be accurate. If it says your account balance is X and you have whatever shares of whatever investment, there's a pretty good chance that that's actually true. But if there's nobody watching over whoever creates the statements, for example, when your advisor has custody, then there's more of a problem and there's an opportunity for somebody to falsify those documents. Plus, your funds are also in an account that the advisor has access to, so if they want to take withdrawals, they can just do that. So how can you reduce the chances of problems? And there are two ways to do this in addition to some other tips we'll talk about, but one is to insist on working with an advisor that uses an independent third-party custodian. So when you do that, again, the payments or the deposits or transfers go into your account over at that custodian, and the advisor never takes possession of that money. The custodian typically sets limits, and you need to verify this with your advisor and your custodian, but the custodian typically sets limits on what the advisor can do. So the financial advisor might have trading authorization and be able to buy and sell securities for you, and they may even be able to zap money from your bank account to the custodian and back, but these are all within accounts that are under your name. So the advisor can't, for example, write themselves a check or transfer money over into their own accounts, except for there may be one exception down at the bottom there, fee deductions. If you authorize and if you happen to be in a relationship with an advisor where they take an assets under management fee, then they can potentially take a small fee out. But bigger fees should, ideally, this isn't guaranteed, but bigger fees should trigger some sort of warning at the custodian if the advisor is taking bigger withdrawals. In an ideal world, you have full control over all of those permissions that your advisor has, and it should be as easy as making a phone call. If you decide that you're uncomfortable for any reason with the advisor, you can call up the custodian and say, hey, please remove that advisor from my account. That doesn't necessarily deal with whatever agreements you had with the advisor, but it can stop them from doing anything in your account while you figure everything else out. A different way to handle this is to work with an advisor on an advice-only basis. So that is where the advisor is not taking your money and investing it for you, even at a custodian. You might just do the investments yourself, but ask an advisor for some help. So you might say, how should I invest? Am I doing the right things? I want a second opinion, that kind of thing. And that is where an advisor can do some calculations for you and help you figure out if you're on track for retirement. How much income can you give yourself? What kind of taxes might be due as you go through retirement? And this is an arrangement that I offer to clients and many other advisors do as well. And that's where we don't need your money. We don't need your social security number and all that other stuff. You can actually block out a lot of information like your home address, so you can upload documents securely. Don't email documents, please. But you can upload documents and just block out anything that you don't want your advisor to know, because that might assist them in identity theft. Now, before we get into some additional tips, just want to give you a friendly reminder that this is just one video, so it's just a short, superficial treatment of the topic. I hope you will do a lot more research, and please consult with some professionals if you would like additional information and individualized guidance. So how can you make sure that you avoid problems? Number one is just to make sure that any payments are not going directly to your advisor or the advisor's firm. Now, again, sometimes it's okay to work with somebody who has custody. You want to definitely know who you're working with and be 100% certain that you can trust that person and that firm. So ideally, your checks are payable to a custodian. Let's say it's Charles Schwab, Fidelity, Vanguard, and typically it's payable to that company. Then it might say FBO or for the benefit of your name on a rollover. And that way the money can only go into an account for you. So that's a biggie right there. You can avoid a lot of problems. Next is to research your advisor. And so there are some regulatory places. I'm going to include a link in the description below that you can use to look up any advisor. And that's a great way to start. See if there are any incidents of fraud in their past. And that can be a red flag. But you want to know who you're working with. There may also be other bodies, like let's say the CFP board. If your advisor is a certified financial planner practitioner, you can go look them up there as well and see if there have been any regulatory or any disciplinary actions taken against them. Finally, it's worth just Googling the advisor and maybe even including the word scam. That can tell you a couple things. Or maybe you might find that your advisor has been quoted in lots of mainstream media, really reputable type publications, and that can give you an idea that maybe the person is legit because journalists have looked into them and maybe it's happened numerous times over. That could be a signal, certainly not a guarantee, but it could be a signal that you're working with somebody who is reputable. Next is to never share passwords. I can understand how it might seem easy just to give your password to your financial advisor and have them take care of it because they understand that stuff. It totally makes sense. But it's really dangerous to do. That gives your advisor complete access to your accounts. A different way to do that is to maybe share screens or sit in the same room with your advisor as you go through things, and they can type in what they need to type in and click on all the things they need to click on, but you have full control to stop the process if anything makes you uncomfortable. Next is to monitor your accounts. So just keep an eye on any emails you get, any mail you get, especially mail, because that can often indicate an address change or something that's like a major move that could be part of an identity theft operation. You want to look at that mail, and if you get something you don't expect, contact your advisor and contact the custodian separately and just ask them what's going on. Look through your list of transactions and make sure that everything makes sense to you. If you see trades you don't understand, or if you see withdrawals you don't understand, those are definitely something you want to address as quickly as possible. If you found this helpful, please leave a thumbs up. That's feedback for me that helps me know that I should do more of this. Thanks and take care.